typecasting comes. Here it is. So what is the syntax? This. Hello everyone. Very warm welcome to Think Constructive. I am Isha. This session is on Python typecasting. So in this session, I will be talking about right from the beginning the typecasting concepts, the types, the usage, followed by the hands-on demonstration. So it's going to be very beneficial for you. By the end of this session, you will be able to apply Python typecasting wherever needed in your code. All right, so watch the session till the end so that nothing is missed. Let us start with the typecasting overview. So let's now first understand what is typecasting. So typecasting, it is a process for converting value from one data type to another. That means, let's say a data type integer is given, and going forward in the code, programmer wants to change that integer to float or want to treat that variable as a float. So that is where the typecasting comes into picture. That means the programmer has to convert that integer to float or float to integer or to string, whichever is needed. That means changing the value or converting the value from one data type to another is called typecasting or type conversion. Interchangeably, these terms are being used. All right, so there are two types of type conversion. One is implicit, another one is explicit. So let's now have a look at what is implicit typecasting. Okay, so in implicit typecasting, there is no need to do anything from the programmer's end. That means coder need not to write any code to do the type conversion or typecasting. Rather, it is automatically taken care by Python. But then Python always converts a smaller data type to larger. Okay, if there is other way around, then coder has to write some code that I will come back in a while. All right, so that means a smaller data type can be converted to larger by the Python directly itself. And here is an example for that. So in the example, what I have done, I have taken a data 1 as 12, data 2 as 12.45, and in data sum, I am adding both the numbers. First one is integer, okay, and second one is float. So finally, when integer is added to float, what will it produce? It will produce a floating point number. All right, so finally, it is giving me the sum of 24.45. But what is happening behind the scenes? So behind the scenes, what is happening? Python is automatically converting this data 1 to float and then performing the addition. So 12 will be treated as 12.00. Okay. So 12.00 will be added to 12.45, will be resulting into 24.45. All right. So I hope this part is clear. I'll just show you the demo also for this so that you get a better picture of it. Here is a Python ideally, and I have already created the code piece for you. I'll just copy and paste this part. So data 1 is given as the value 12, data 2 is given as the value 12.45, and when we'll perform the sum for all these two, what will happen? What should we expect when we print them? We should get the value as 24.45. Here it is. All right. So internally, this data 1 is converted to 12.00, and then these two numbers are added and given the sum as 24.45. This is about implicit typecasting. Now we will be talking about explicit typecasting. As the name itself says, explicitly programmer has to do something. That means explicitly programmer has to write the code for type conversion. Alright, so no automatic conversion will be performed by Python. Rather, the data type which is needed for the targeted object has to be converted by the programmer. Okay. So how it should be done? There is a syntax for this. So what is the syntax? Coder should be writing the required data type followed by the expression. All right. So we'll have now some examples with respect to different data types. So first I will be talking about integer. So in case of integer, what happens? If you wish to convert float or a string integer to integer data type, you should be using int function, which is already provided by Python. Okay, and here are some examples for that. So in the first example, let's say var1 is given 10.85, which is a float number, and you want to convert that float to integer. So that will not happen automatically in Python. Rather, what you should be doing, should be writing var2 is equal to inside int function, the value which should be converted, which is var1. And then finally, when you will print it, you will get the value as an integer. Okay, and there is another example. In a while, I will be showing all the demonstration of explicit type conversion. Okay, so we'll move towards another data type, which is float. So in case of float, if you wish to convert integer or a string float to float, you can simply use float function. And here are some examples. Okay, we'll be discussing these examples with the demonstration direct on Python ideally in a while. And another one is string. So if you wish to convert any integer, float or complex to a string, you should be using str function. Okay, and here are some examples. So I will now be demonstrating all these integer, float and string explicit type conversion in the Python IDLE editor. Okay, so I'm back to Python IDLE editor, and here are some examples of explicit type conversion. So in the first one, float to integer, I have taken a float variable and converting it to integer by calling int function. Okay, and then finally printing is happening. Another example is for string int to int. In var1 within single quote, I have written a number. So it will be treated as a string because it is enclosed inside single quote. Okay, if I want to convert it to int, I should be calling int function. Another example, int to float. I have taken integer number here and I wish to convert it to float, so I will be calling float function. Then string float to float. So within single quote, I have given some value. So it will be treated as string, and if I wish to convert it to float, I should be explicitly calling float function. Okay. Another example is int to string. In that, I have taken an integer and I wish to convert it to string. I should be calling str function. Same goes for float to str and complex to str. All right. So now I will be executing this whole program in one shot. How do I do that? I'll just go to run and say run module. So this complete program will be executed. Okay, I'll say run module. What has happened? First code piece is executed and sum is produced as 24.45. That was implicit typecasting. Now explicit typecasting, float to int. So although it was 10.85, but what am I getting? 10, because I have explicitly converted it to int. Similarly, string int to int, I should be getting 20. Then integer converted to float, 10.0. Okay, this one, see? This. So it was 10, but what am I getting? 10.0. Okay, string float converted to float. So this is the string one and it is now converted to float. Then int to string, integer, and I am treating it as a string now because I have already called str function. So I am getting integer converted to string, which is 10, then float to string. So this is the float number, but I am treating it as a string now. And similarly for complex. All right. So this is how you can play around with the typecasting and type conversion in Python. If it is a smaller to higher, automatic type conversion takes place in Python. But when you want to convert some data type from high to low, you should be explicitly doing it by calling the given already inbuilt functions in Python. All right. So to summarize what all we have covered today, we learned what is typecasting or type conversion in Python. And the types of typecasting, that is implicit typecasting and explicit typecasting. Both typecasting we have understood what is it and how you can apply it in your Python programs by calling variety of functions which are already given by Python libraries. This is one more Python feature which is very helpful while writing Python programs. Okay, so please try out all those examples, whichever we have discussed just now. If you have any questions, please ask your questions in the comment section. If you like any particular part of the video, please annotate that in the comment section. That will be helpful for everyone. And let me know what next session on Python you would want to have. I will try to get back to you on that as soon as possible. Thank you everyone for watching the session. I hope it was helpful. If you really like the session, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Share the channel details with more and more people so that everyone is beneficial and we will grow together more and more stronger. All right, there are more courses also available on this channel, so please go ahead and explore them. Thank you once again. See you in the next session. Bye for now.